The top stories tonight in Y News. AntiMoney Laundering Council issues sanctions freeze order against the assets of Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Leonardo Teves Jr. and 12 other individuals. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council releases death toll due to Typhoon Egay and the southwest monsoon or habagat. Senators hit several delayed irrigation projects of the National Irrigation Administration amid billions of pesos being allotted to them over the years. And Facebook's parent company Meta sets to end new availability for Canadian users on its platforms following a new law requiring digital platforms to pay news publishers. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, the 2nd of August, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am William Theo. First in the news, the Anti-Money Laundering Council has issued sanctions freeze order against the assets of Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnolfo Teves Jr. and 12 other individuals. Dante Amento tells us why.
After the terrorist designation against Negros Oriental 3rd District Representative Arnie Teves and 12 other individuals by the government's Anti-Terrorism Council or ATC, the Anti-Money Laundering Council issued a freeze order for the assets or properties of the designees. It has ordered covered institutions and government agencies to submit detailed written return over the number of accounts, balance in the accounts, name in the property, and even the alleged suspicious previous transactions of the designees within 5 days upon effectivity of the freeze order.
We have a list of the individuals identified. Only those people who are specifically identified under the ATC resolution are subject of the freeze order.
Meanwhile, Congressman Teves said he has only a few assets. The terrorist designation is allegedly a plan B of the government to persecute him after all the witnesses in the Digamo case recanted their previous statements.
Dapat bumili sila ng malaking freezer, baka hindi magkasya. Hindi, joke lang. Joke lang. Wala naman po akong ilan na po yung assets.
Ito ang kanilang fallback position. I-declare nating terorista si Congressman, ipitin natin mga ari-arian.
The Teves camp is planning to appeal the designation before a higher court, such as the Court of Appeals or at the Supreme Court. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Senate expects to receive the copy of the 5.7 trillion peso 2024 national budget next week. Senate President Juan Miguel Mig Zubiri says subcommittees of the Senate Committee on Finance are expected to begin its hearings this month or in September. The Senate leader is optimistic that there would be no delay in the passing of the national budget.
I'm sure Senator Angara will already order the subcommittees to have their hearings para magkaroon ng subcommittee hearings as soon as possible. Wala naman ako nakikitang controversial.
Meanwhile, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, recorded 27 deaths due to Typhoon Egay and southwest monsoon or habagat. 52 were also recorded wounded, while 13 were reported missing. Based on the data of NDRRMC, over 2.8 million individuals or 765,000 families were affected in 4,646 barangays nationwide. NDRRMC AMLC also recorded more than 3.5 billion pesos worth of damages in infrastructure and almost 2 billion pesos in agriculture. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources is currently reviewing the Manila Bay Reclamation projects permitted by the government to deepen its understanding of the ecological and economic impact of these activities. Nel Maribuhok reports.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, are now assembling the team that will be doing cumulative impact assessment on the Manila Reclamation projects. DENR Secretary Maria Yulo Loizaga explained that the reclamation projects are important in terms of the economy, but they need to do cost-benefit analysis in terms of impact to the ecology. She said the big one must be considered on these projects.
For example, sea level rise needs to be considered. The different possible geological events that could actually take place. As you know, there has been a lot of talk about the big one. No? The big one, of course, will generate some movement in the waters.
The United States Embassy on Tuesday, August 1, expressed concerns over ongoing reclamation projects in Manila Bay, including issues involving the environment. In a statement, the U.S. Embassy said they are in constant communication with the Philippine government about how the projects could potentially negatively impact the environment, the resilience of Manila Bay and nearby areas to hazards as well as commerce. According to the DENR chief, there are concerns not just expressed by the U.S. Embassy but by others as well, not just for the ecology but also for the cultural and historical impacts of the changes that could take place given the history of the Manila Bay. But for now, the secretary said they are now reviewing the said reclamation projects.
I think for some, given that some of the permits that they were given in the past administration came with certain conditions. And those conditions will have to be reconciled with the different agencies with whom they need to elicit a certificate of no objection from.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The area of the collapsed dike in San Leonardo, Nueva Ecija has been declared a danger zone. Therefore, the local government will not allow residents to return to the area. Because the soil is already saturated, there is a possibility of increased damage due to continuous rain and water from the Pampanga River. The LGU and DPWH are speeding up their mitigation efforts to prevent further damage to the dike. But this is only a band-aid solution.
Temporary lang ito, pero ang permanent solution natin dito, yung paglalagay talaga ng gabyon. Ibabaon natin yung gabyon dun sa lupa hanggang sa itaas, maisalansa natin at may programa na kaming ginawa. At yun nga, magre-request din kami kung pwedeng makahingi kami ng tulong sa DPWH, sa probinsya, at sa ganun, tulong-tulong namin ayusin yung mga problemang ito na maraming nawalan ng bahay dahil doon sa biglaang pagtaas ng tubig.
Most of the residents who lost their homes will stay in evacuation centers, while some residents stay with their relatives. The local government has already prepared permanent relocation sites for the affected families.
Kaya po kami babalik doon. Kasi po, nakakatakot na po eh. Hindi po natin masabi yung panahon. Wala po kasi lubay ang ulan. Hindi na po kami babalik. Po, yan na po namin yun. Maganda po. Nakita ko po kahapon yung location ko. Maganda. Kahit medyo malayo po talaga sa kalsada po. Ganda naman po. Malayo po sa disgrasya. Tsaka makapagtanim po kami ng mga gulay. Mahilig po kasi kami magtanim noon. Kasi mga bata po maluwang laruan po.
Bumalik po ako sa taas namin hanggang hindi nabubuwal. Nakitang-kita po talaga yung bahay ng anak ko gumagano na, bumababa na sa tubig. Kaya nga po do hihiyaw ko nung nabubulit na do ayakot ng mga anak ko. Mahirap lang kami pagpapagawa. Talaga pong hadohiyaw ko noon. Naiyak ako, naiyak.
Meanwhile, not only vegetables have increased, the prices of fish also increased in Balintawak Market. According to the fish vendors, delivery is still difficult because the highways in Bulacan are still flooded and fishermen are still not allowed to catch fish due to bad weather, delaying the delivery to the markets.
Kasi nga sa panahon, mga bagyo, tapos binabawalan lumapit sa dagat yung mga mangisda. Yun, kaya tumaas. Konti ang demand, mataas ang kalakal. Araw-araw tumataas.
Milk fish or bangus, which used to be 140 pesos a kilo, is now at 180 pesos. The local galunggong has increased further from 220 pesos per kilo, but now it is 240 to 280 per kilogram. The price of imported galunggong or round scad has been raised up to 20 pesos. It used to be viable for 200 pesos, now it is 240 pesos per kilo. Up to 35 pesos, meanwhile, have been added to the price per kilo of tilapia, while alumahan or Indian mackerel is up to 40 pesos upon the current price per kilo. Meanwhile, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, continues to remind that there is still a price freeze on basic necessities in areas subject to a state of calamity due to the damage of Typhoon Egay. Many schools were damaged by Typhoon Egay. According to the data of the Department of Education, 169 schools were damaged due to the storm. From 9 regions in the country, including Cordillera Administrative Region, NCR, Calabarzon, Region 2, Region 3, and others. It is estimated that over 800 million pesos fund will be needed for the repair of the said schools. Currently, 68 schools in 4 regions are being used as evacuation centers.
And for the news abroad, the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP28, will be hosted from November 30 to December 12 this year at Expo City, Dubai, and will allow climate protests on the day of the event. From Japan, Ryuji Sasaki will give us the details live. Ryuji?
Good evening, Elsie. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, said this year's UN climate talks would allow environmental activities to make their voice heard and peacefully assemble. In a joint statement, UNFCCC Chief Simon Steele and COP28 President Sultan Al-Jaber signed a bilateral agreement that provides the legal base for organizing and hosting the climate talks. Furthermore, they are making every effort to ensure that the voices of youth, women, local communities, indigenous peoples, and others affected by climate change are heard and reflected in the process. However, the choice to host COP28 in United Arab Emirates, one of the world's largest emitters of CO2 per capita, triggered a wave of criticism from activists who warned of a conflict of interest and warned that the involvement of an oil exporter could slow progress in the fight against global warming. While dozens of human and environmental rights groups questioned the choice to host the conference in the UAE, the summit will continue. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Ryuji Sasaki, for that live report. We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Thank you, Elsie. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. The missing Cessna 152 training aircraft from Lawag City en route to Tuguegarao, Cagayan was earlier located today. Retrieval operations at the crash site are currently ongoing. Alan Manansala will tell us why.
Confirmed by Apayao Apayao Provincial Information Officer Brent Martinez, the missing Cessna plane 152 training aircraft with registration number RP-C8598 has been found. It crashed in the area near the boundary of Barangay Salvacion Luna and San Mariano in Pudtol, Apayao. The two-seater Cessna plane departed from Lawag Airport and was supposed to land at Tuguegarao City Airport at 3:16 p.m. However, it failed to reach its destination. Immediate aerial search operations using air assets of the Philippine Air Force and Philippine Coast Guard were conducted to locate the missing airplane. The aircraft was carrying two pilots identified as Captain Edsel Jan Lumbao Tabuzo, a resident of San Juan City, and the student pilot Anshum Rakumar Conde, an Indian national. Meanwhile, Eco Air, the operator of the crashed Cessna plane, has suspended its operations. The Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, Aircraft Accident Investigation and Inquiry Board, has also dispatched investigators to probe the incident once retrieval operations are completed. Alan Manansala, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, motorcycle riders are now prohibited to shelter under footbridges as the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, started issuing violation tickets to motorists yesterday. The agency said they caught a few riders and will strictly implement the policy starting next week. Bernadette Tinoy will tell us why.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA, has announced that they will strictly implement its new policy that will prohibit the motorists to shelter under flyovers and footbridges. This after the agency issued violation tickets to motorcycle riders yesterday, August 1.
Kasi minonitor naman natin sa ating CCTV cameras kung sino lang yung talagang bumabad na ayaw umalis. Soon, magiging strict na kami. Nagre-remind lang kami, baka kasi hindi pa alam ng iba. 1,000 po ang penalty under the single ticketing system.
MMDA Acting Chairman Romando Artes said they are now coordinating with gasoline stations for the temporary shelter of motorcycle riders, but insisted that the corresponding tents are voluntary.
We already met with them. Marami lang sa kanila ang may apprehension. Inaaral po nila yung mga safety protocols na kung sakaling i-allow daw nila ay masabi sa amin kung ano yung mga pwede at hindi dapat gawin habang nakaparada doon.
Meanwhile, some riders respond that MMDA should take consideration when a rider put coat under the footbridge due to heavy rainfall.
Kung magtatambay ka sa daan, dapat ready ka rin, may halimbawa magsusot ka lang ng kaputi. Tapos yun, alis agad. Nasa batas po kasi namin, nasa traffic rules po yan.
Minsan kasi consideration din sa mga rider na walang kapote kung may mga importanteng gamit, mabasa.
Yung pagtatambay naman po sa ilalim ng overpass, nakadisturbo po nakakadistract po yun sa kalsada.
Bernadette Tinoy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Damage to agriculture brought by Super Typhoon Egay is now at 3.17 billion pesos. Reports came from Cordillera Administrative Region, Ilocos Region, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, Western Visayas, Soc-Sargen, and Caraga. More than 170,000 hectares of agricultural areas and more than 146,000 farmers and fisher folk are among the affected. Products that are damaged includes rice, corn, high-value crops and livestock, and poultry. The southwest monsoon would still affect most areas of the country. The Philippine Weather Bureau Pag-asa said that occasional rains will be experienced in the Ilocos region, Zambales, and Bataan. Occasional rains will prevail over Metro Manila, Cordillera Administrative Region, Cagayan Valley, the rest of Central Luzon, Calabarzon, and Mimaropa. The rest of the country will experience isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. Some areas will also experience the effect of southwest monsoon tomorrow due to the influence of Typhoon Falcon that is now outside the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR. Senators hit several delayed irrigation projects of the National Irrigation Administration amid billions of pesos being allotted to them over the years. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Several lawmakers questioned the National Irrigation Administration or NIA for the years-long backlog on some irrigation projects. In today's Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing, Senator Raffy Tulfo hit the unfinished Balog-Balog multipurpose project with a 13 billion peso budget. This as members of indigenous peoples or IPs complained about payment and resettlement issues.
So actually wala pa pong nangyayari sa Balog-Balog Dam. Ang ginawa po ng NIA, pinagbabakbak lang po yung kalikasan namin. Kinabunan po yung aming mga sagradong lugar. Yung mga pangako nila na nasa provision ng MOA ay halos hindi pa po naipatupad.
NIA Acting Administrator Eddie Gillian says the project's contractor had been terminated and will be up for bidding once again in October. The agency vows to complete the project by 2027 with its remaining budget of over 5 billion pesos.
Binilihan ko po yung sa ating legal department para po titigan po ito kung para ho ma-fast track natin, matulungan yung ating mga kapatid na IPs para po sa payment. And then kinausap ko na rin po yung Commission on Audit, sir. Sabi ko, baka pwedeng luwagan naman yung ibang hinahanap nila sa atin. At tuloy ginagawan po naman namin ng paraan.
Tulfo requested NIA to submit a list of contractors and all those involved with the project for accountability. Meanwhile, senators also urged NIA to explain to the provincial government of Bulacan the massive flooding as several parts of the province have been flooded due to continued rains. NIA recommends to build another dam between the Ipo and Bustos dams.
Ang kailangan po talaga natin, sir, ay mga high dams po para talagang ma-contain po natin yung tubig, ma-manage natin.
The Senate will tackle the persistent problem of flooding next week to scrutinize the multi-billion flood control projects of the Department of Public Works and Highways and to push for an integrated flood plan in the country. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Agriculture, or DA, will sell the 80,000 bags of sugar donated by the BOC. The signing of the deed of donation and acceptance was held yesterday, August 1st, for the 4,000 metric tons of sugar. The commodity was confiscated last January 12, 2023 in Batangas Port due to the lack of proper documentation. The Sugar Regulatory Administration, or SRA, said the donated sugar will be repacked in the warehouse of the National Food Authority. It may produce 4 million if packed for a kilo each. Meanwhile, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, reports its continuous reach-out operations for families and individuals dwelling on the streets. DSWD's Assistant Secretary and spokesperson Romel Lopez said that reached-out families and children were brought to designated areas for biometrics registration and issuance of identification cards. To date, the agency has been able to reach out to 38 families composed of 113 individuals, including 111 unattached adults and 3 unaccompanied children. Oplan Pag-abot aims to reach out to people living on the streets in order to provide interventions and kick off its implementation last July 3 in Pasay, Caloocan, and Manila City. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, in collaboration with the Department of Education, launches the Tarabasa Tutoring program, which aims to enhance the reading skills of more than 63,000 incoming Grade 2 students across the National Capital Region. Through this program, around 6,000 college students from low-income families will receive financial assistance in exchange for their service as tutors and youth development workers for select students. Gladys Tawabi will tell us why.
Jasmine Rose Lorenzo, an incoming third-year college student, is among the 6,000 volunteer student tutors and youth development workers in the newly launched Tarabasa tutoring program of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSSWD, in collaboration with the Department of Education, or DepEd. She took advantage of the opportunity to apply for the Cash for Work program to earn 570 pesos per day for the services that she would be rendering.
Nag-apply po talaga ako kahit na from Caloocan po ako, and I'm expected na ma-assign ako sa Manila. Wala po ko sa scholarship, and makakatulong po talaga yung financial assistance na to para sa akin.
This financial support will help with her daily needs as a student. Jasmine hopes that this program will also serve as a platform to hone and apply the knowledge acquired from school. This program will not only benefit student tutors, but also aims to assist the 63,000 incoming grade 2 students in the National Capital Region who need guidance to develop their reading skills.
Itong programa na to, number one, targeted sa third year, fourth year college students kasi alam natin, sila yung konting-konti na lang magiging produktibong mamamayan na natin, makakasama na, makakalahok na sa nation building, maging part na ng workforce. Pangalawa, ang target naman ang kondisyon dito, tutulungan na kayo for cash for work, no, financial assistance, pero tumulong rin kayo sa problema ng bansa sa pagsolusyon. Kaya nga meron silang tutoring na requirement, 20 days, 2 oras kada araw.
The program includes nanay-tatay teacher sessions where parents will be taught effective parenting skills. The topics covered in these sessions include child development, children's rights, the Filipino family, parenting, and more. Participating parents will be given assistance of 235 pesos per day for 20 days.
Ito yung programa ng DSWD na Cash for Work nila, and sa innovation nila, targeted na ang Cash for Work project nila. Meron nang gagawin na trabahong pag-tutor yung mga beneficiaries ng Cash for Work. Nagpapasalamat kami sa volunteers, ng mga college students sa kanilang interest na tumulong sa ating mga kabataan.
The Tarabasa tutoring program is set to start on August 15. Gladys Tuwabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for other world news, Facebook's parent company Meta has begun to end news availability for Canadian users on its platforms following a new Canadian law requiring digital platforms like Google's parent company Alphabet to pay news publishers. Due to the Online News Act, which was passed by the Canadian Parliament just over a week ago, Canadians will no longer be able to view or share content from news outlets. While international news publishers can still post links and content, this will not be viewable by people in Canada. Meta's head of public policy in Canada, Rachel Coran, hopes that the Canadian government will recognize the value these digital platforms provide news companies and consider a move that reflects the principles of a free and open internet. Ms. Coran added that while news publishers voluntarily share their content on the Meta platforms to expand their audience, Meta users, on the other hand, do not go on the social media platforms specifically for news. Meta had previously argued that links to news articles comprise less than 3% of the content on users' feeds and that it lacked economic value, with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stating that such argument was flawed and dangerous to the country's democracy and economy. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Elsie Marcos, live from Auckland, New Zealand. Good evening.
The Bureau of Customs, or BOC, in cooperation with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, confiscated a shipment of exotic wildlife at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA. The BOC said the 5 Pac-Man frogs from Malaysia were recovered with an estimated value of over 81,000 pesos. It was turned over to the DENR for safekeeping and proper next steps. Trading of exotic wildlife is strictly prohibited under the Wildlife Conservation and Protection Act. The Palawan Council for Sustainable Development promotes the nomination of Tabon Cave Complex and the entire Lipuon Point in the town of Quezon, Palawan, to be included in the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization or UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is supported by the national government through the UNESCO Philippines, the National Museum, and the Commission for Culture and the Arts, and supported by the provincial government of Palawan and the Quezon Municipal Government. The PCSD resolution states that the importance of the place in history, as discovered by Dr. Robert Fox in the National Museum of the Philippines in 1962 on various archaeological artifacts and fossils of modern humans or Homo sapiens in the Tabon Cave complex, is estimated to be 47,000 years ago. The area was declared a site museum reservation by former President Ferdinand Marcos through Presidential Proclamation number 996 series of 1972. And the Palarong Pambansa 2023 continued despite the rain. One of the highlighted sports is goalball, where the Bicol region and Western Visayas competed in the preliminaries. Vina Villamor Camara reports.
One of the highlights of Palarong Pambansa is the Para Games, where it includes sports such as athletics, swimming, bachi, and goalball. This is one of the areas where para-athletes can show their determination, courage, and also set an inspiration to others as well. Here in Loyola Grand Villas is one of the venues that caters to one of the special games called goalball. And this is the ball that they're using. Let's take a look at it. Goalball was invented by Austrians as a form of rehabilitation to blinded war veterans. It was first introduced in the 1976 Toronto Paralympic Games that paved way for the foundation of the International Blind Sports Federation. On this game, two teams of 3 players face each other across the court. The player will roll the ball with bells to the net or goal, while the opponent will attempt to block it with their bodies. Once they are able to take control, they become the offensive player. The game consists of 2 10-minute halves, and the team is composed of boys and girls. In the preliminaries, we saw action between Western Visayas and Bicol. Prior to the start, the referee reminded everyone to observe silence and mute on their gadgets so as the players will not be distracted. The game takes place in a regular court such as those being played in basketball or volleyball, and each player has to cover their eyes to achieve fairness because the levels of being visually impaired differ from one player to another. Using their hearing senses, the players started to focus hard to achieve their saves in the net. Because of the inclement weather, there were also instances that referees had to call for a break because of the sound of the pouring rain that cannot mix with the sound of the ball being rolled. In the first half, Western Visayas took control of the game with the scores 9-4 against Bicol region. Each player tried their best to be mentally tough, push the ball in a more smooth roll so as to lessen the chances of sound when it is bounced. In the end, Region 6 dominated the game with 15-6 at the end of the 20-minute mark.
Siyempre, yung mga players ko sa totoo lang, in-house ko po sila sa bahay. Dinadala ko po yan sila sa bahay. At minsan sa school din po kami natutulog para mag-practice. So, practice makes perfect.
After this, Western Visayas is heading to the semi-finals and will be facing Davao. Rina Villamor Camara, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus. We are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems, may help us through this horrible predicament. There is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word, giving glory to God from the book of 1 John, chapter 3, verse 7 to 8. It says, "Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil." And those are the reasons behind the news, August 2, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.